Looking for a bag for your crocheting and knitting projects that has all of your tools in one spot? Watch today's video. I have one that will blow your mind. I made this bag and I've been using it, and I have to say it could have the title of the world's best project bag. Today I'm going to show you how to make the bag. It's out of clear vinyl, so you can see your yarn inside. You can see where your components fall into. It has a pocket on the outside for your patterns. You can zip it closed, but it has grommets that you pull your yarn through. It has a place for your scissors. It has a pocket for your pencils and your row markers. It has everything you need. So let's get started, and I will show you how you can make your own world's best project bag. For the crochet project bag, I've already cut out my pieces, and instead of listing them all off and you trying to remember what I said and the sizes, I have down below in the description all of the dimensions, but I also have it on our website DIY on the house. I have a document on there that has all of the measurements that you will need. So the big picture though, you need to have a half of a yard of fabric. This is just cotton fabric, and I would suggest probably something lightweight like that. And then you will need to have plastic. And this plastic is pretty heavy weight. To be honest, I got it at a Park and Swap. They sold it by the yard there, so I don't know what the thickness is. It didn't have a label, but you need to have about 3/4 of a yard of heavy vinyl clear plastic. So you're also going to need to have at least a 7-inch zipper and a 12-inch zipper. They can be longer, but that's the minimum. We need 12 and 7. We're going to make the handles out of macrame cord. We're just going to braid them, so don't worry. I'm not going to expect you to macrame. So you'll need to have about 30 feet of cording. We're also going to use 1/2-inch grommets. They're super easy to use, so don't let it scare you. This is a package that I got from Harbor Freight, so you're going to need 9 grommets. The one I'm using is 1/2-inch wide. And you're also going to need a carabiner. These are 2-inch carabiners. Nothing heavyweight is necessary. Inside the bag, we're putting a pocket that you can slip your crochet hooks or your knitting needles down into the pockets. And to make it a little bit more stable, we are going to put a piece of fusible interfacing on one end of it. This piece here is 5 inches by 10 inches. And my interfacing I cut just so it's not in the seam is 4 inches by 5 inches. I have the interfacing applied to the wrong side of the fabric. Now fold your piece in half, and we are going to stitch around the whole bottom, but you're going to have to leave a good 2 inches open on whichever side you want so that you can turn it inside out. So for the piece of fabric that is going to hold your crochet hooks and needles, just do a 1/2-inch seam all the way around, leaving about 2 inches open on the side. Trim your corners, and then we're going to turn it inside out. Use a pin to pull out your corners. Fold your hole so it's the seam is nice and even and straight. And then I'm going to top stitch really close to the edge all the way around to close up that hole. The bag is made in 2 sides, and then I'm going to show you how to make a gusset. So you need 2 pieces for the sides. These are cut 13 inches by 18 inches. And then I have used a couple different methods of marking on the plastic. A dry erase marker works well, but you're going to want to wipe it off before you stitch because it tended to get into my stitches. So if that's the only thing you have, it works well. Just wipe it off so that it doesn't embed into your fibers. So what I found works better is just a photo marking pencil. So on the two sides, take your marking pencil, and I have the plastic running down this line. I'm going to draw a line with the pencil a 1/2 inch down on the long 18-inch side. I'm going to do that on both pieces. And what I'm going to do on that, this is the fabric I'm using, and these are cut 3 inches by 19 inches. And you're going to need to have 2 pieces of that. So the big picture of what's going to happen is we're going to sew, lining up the fabric along that pencil line. We're going to stitch it, fold the fabric over the top of your bag. For plastic, you don't want to use pins because it'll poke holes in it. So when at all possible, just use some fabric clips. So I'm just going to line this up. It's a little bit longer than we need. I'm going to extend it a 1/2 inch longer on each end. So this piece here is 3 by 19, and I'm just going to clip that into place. So here is the line that I marked onto the plastic, and I'm going to take, leaving this overlapping about a 1/2 inch on that end. I'm going to follow my presser foot along that line, which I have my fabric lined up to. So it's about a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and it's just a straight stitch all the way across. After you have that side sewn, pull the fabric around over the top of your plastic. So I have my plastic is right here. Fold your fabric over the top. So fold this piece clear to the top of your fabric there. Then line it up with the edge of the seam that you just did. So fold that clear up to the top. Fold it down and then clip it. And so this one you're just going to want to take your time, and because it's clear, you don't want the back side peekabooing through to the front. So just line it up, and we're going to do a nice close edge stitch along there. Okay, it's looking good. Go ahead and do this same thing. Wrap the fabric around the top on your other piece of plastic for the other side of the bag. After you have the fabric sewn onto your side, we get to start adding the pockets. So then on this piece, we are going to add your crochet hook holder, and then we are going to add a single skein pocket out of the smaller piece of plastic, which you cut 10 inches by 6 1/4 inches. So that goes here. So what you need to do, and you're not going to be able to see my marks because of the plastic, so just follow with what I'm telling you and do it on your own. So on the center here, I've drawn a line using a wipe on wipe off marker because there's not going to be any stitching going over that line. I just needed to know the center of your piece, which is a 9-inch mark. And then from there, and I'm going to have this as a diagram on our blog, the DIYonthehouse.com, so you can print this off. But from here, you need to make a line from the bottom. Here's the bottom of your plastic, 4 inches this way. So 4 inches from the bottom is going to be the bottom of our stitching. On the left side, I'm making a line 4 inches. And so your needle holder goes right there. On this side, we're going to do the same thing. We are making a line that's 4 inches, and we have our line from the bottom that's 4 inches. But this time I'm going to bring my pocket clear over to that center mark because I want it a little bit wider. So make a little tiny mark using, I'm using a photo pencil. So here's my 4-inch line from the edge. Here's my center mark. That happens to be 5 inches in between. So at the 2.5-inch spot, I've made a little mark. This is the pocket. So this is your 6 1/4 by 10 inch. And I have made a little mark halfway, which is at the 5-inch mark, because the pocket is going to run sideways, landscape. So what we're going to do, masking tape comes in wonderful for this. So I'm going to get a couple pieces of masking tape, it holds pretty good when you're sewing it. So I am lining up the edge of my pocket to that mark that is 4 inches from the edge. So I'm going to mark there, secure that with some tape. Take the other side and run it down the center line of the bag. So right now you're over 9 inches. Keeping the bottom of it lined up with your mark that is 4 inches from the bottom. So I have that lined up. Let's put it there. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, so now you have your center mark on your pocket, and you have your center mark that you marked on the side itself. So line those up on top of each other. And I'm going to put the tape mark on this one up here because we're going to be doing some folding down here. So after you have the top taped, your center is still lined up, and we need to deal with these 2 tubes. So they're sticking up to the ceiling right now. Just bend it down. It's about 1 inch. We're going to just bend that pleat in there, and I'm going to put a piece of tape on the bottom here. So this is bent over, and we're going to do the same thing here. So let me take off that tape so it bends. And we're just going to bend it over to the edge and kind of press it down. So you can kind of see here, it's about 1 inch fold on each one, and the center is flat. Okay, so see, that's the big idea. We have now a pocket that you can put your yarn in. So keep your center lined up and just kind of fold out your excess. We're going to take it to the machine and we will sew down. We'll catch the plastic fold in the stitching, stitch across both folds and back up and leave the top empty. But before we go to the machine, we're going to get this lined up on here. So I have my 4 inches from the bottom and 4 inches from the left side. And I have drawn light marks with a fabric pencil every inch. So we have it at 1, 2, 3 inches because the pocket itself is 4 inches wide. And again, because it's plastic, I'm going to go ahead and just tape this on here. And we will stitch down across the bottom and up, and then we will add our center spines for your needles. Okay, I'm just going to pull back the tape a little ways so that I can stitch just down. You probably can't see it, but the edge of this pocket is what I'm going to run the presser foot on. When you have plastic on the bottom of your presser foot, it's going to grab, so just you have to ease it along as you sew. Okay, for your pleat, you're just going to want to line up the bottom. And again, this is just folded on top of each other here. We have about 1 inch fold, and so we're going to go straight across on the bottom. Now we get to sew on the hook holder, and I am going to follow pretty close to the existing stitching line all the way around, and then add top stitching on the lines that I drew. Inside the bag, I'm going to have a pencil pouch hanging. So you need to have 2 pieces of your main fabric cut 7 inches by 8 inches, and then you'll need to have some lining fabric cut as well, 7 by 8. then this is where we're going to use the 7-inch zipper. So you take your right side and your right side of the zipper and sew along the tape of the top of that side of the zipper to your fabric. Close as you can to the zipper itself. Forget that part. On the opposite side of the zipper tape, take your lining and do the exact same thing on the opposite side. So you're going to sandwich the zipper in between your fabric, right sides together of your lining and right sides together of your fabric. Okay, that looks good. Going to go ahead and top stitch the fabric along the edge here. So just take a pin and just basically pinning the lining and your fabric away from your stitching. And we'll top stitch along here. Oh, that looks fantastic. This one piece of fabric is your entire pouch. So at this point, take your good fabric, your outside fabric, fold it up, and we are going to sew it along the zipper tape on this side. Now you finish the sandwich by pulling up the lining and sandwiching it against the seam that you just did. So basically, you're going to have two little loops here. So you're going to have a loop of the main fabric and you're going to have a loop of your lining. And we're going to sew along the seam you just did, sandwiching in the zipper. Now you're going to have to slip your hand in there and open up the zipper at least halfway or a little bit more. Okay, before I do the side seam, I want to top stitch this last side. And so I'm going to do that. Bag back to where the lining is showing, and you're going to, no matter if your zipper is closed on this end or not, you're going to need to make sure your zipper is open at least halfway, and go ahead and clip your ends and sew a good solid 1/2 inch seam on each end. And when we get to the grommet stage, I'm going to put a grommet right here so it can hang right inside your bag. Now we're on to the second side, and on the second side we're going to do 2 of these skein pouches, and that is where you're going to use your 20-inch piece by 6 1/4. So we have this marked halfway, so I have a little tick mark at 10 inches. On the side of the bag itself, we're going to do the same thing. 4 inches on each side, 4 inches on the bottom. So you won't be able to see it, but I've used my photo pencil and I have a line drawn here like a goalpost, 4 inches in and 4 inches up, and then I have a center line drawn as well. So I'm going to take my piece and we're going to do the same exact thing. We're just going to use tape. That works real well. And we're going to line up the side with just a light piece of masking tape. Do that on both sides. Getting a different roll of tape there. That one wasn't working real well. So we're going to tape this side along my 4-inch mark. So I have that one. Line up our center. And then again, these will get folded in one big pleat on each side. So keeping them away from your stitching line so that you can still stitch and just fold them so that you're forming a pocket. Okay, that kind of looks like a cluster mess, but it's super simple if you just use the tape. So you're going to stitch along the side, across the bottom, keep these smashed down so you have room for in the middle to add a stitching line. So we're going to go down, across, and back up. Then we're going to add a center stitching line. Those turned out really good, so you have your two pockets. So we have two sides. These are both interior. On the exterior of the one that has the fabric pouch, so this is the outside of the bag, we are going to add your 8 by 10.5 piece, and this is going to be so you can slip in your pattern and stuff. So this pocket is on the outside of the bag, and what you need to do is just line it up just so that your stitching line is going to be on the outside of the other stitching line. Because we're going to be sewing through, you don't want to catch these pockets. So just use your tape, and we're going to line this up and tape it into place, and then just sew down, across, and back up. To finish off the ends, you're going to need to have 3 more pieces of fabric. 1 on each end of the zipper, because we want it to be able to go like this. We're going to finish these individually. So we need to have a piece that is roughly 3 inches. It can be a little shallower than that, but 3 inches, and then an inch wider than that side. So you need to do that twice. So we have 2 pieces here. And on this end, it's going to be 1 continuous piece. So it's 3 inches and an inch wider than the casing. With right sides together, so we have the right side of this, and then this is the top of your casing, so that's considered the right side. We're going to pin that together, and we're going to fold in each end and put a pin there, and then fold in the other side and put a pin there as well. Do that for all 3. So we're going to do the same there, and then for the long one we'll do the same there. Pin it, and then I'm going to go to the machine, and with a 1/4 inch seam allowance I'm going to sew across each end, and then I'll come back and show you how we finish it off. Okay, I've already finished off these 2 ends so that you can see what the finished look is, what we're going for. So I have the full end left to do. So this is the underneath side. So it's already folded in because you stitched it there. Fold your raw end down to the other raw end, and then fold one more time to the end of your zipper. And clip that, and then just sew right along the edge, do a top stitch along the edge of that, and that's what you come up with. We have it folded over on the end, so it just makes it nice and finished. I have the right side facing up to the camera right now. So the exterior side of the bag is facing. Here's our 2 interior pockets, and this is the exterior pocket for your pattern, and then this is facing up too. So here's the top of the zipper. I have marked each side with a pin. The center point of each side I have marked, so do that yourself, and then match up your centers, and then overlap them 1/2 inch onto the casing of the bag. So I'm just going to put a pin there and check my measurements. I'm going to double check to make sure that we're good on both sides. Okay, that one looks good, and then do the same for the other side and overlap it 1/2 inch. And now go to the machine and stitch along both sides, making sure you backstitch pretty heavily on each end. Okay, we're getting super close. So here's what we have right now. This is the exterior of the bag. We have our pocket on the outside, the pockets on the inside. Fold them right sides together. And you're going to want to open your zipper a little bit. You don't have to go all the way, but you want at least to have it open, oh, say halfway. Match up your plastic sides and put a clip on them. Match up your top. I'd probably match up your top first because you're going to want that to be a nice even edge there. So let's match up the top first. And before I go to the machine, I'm going to go ahead and trim off this excess here. Trim it even with your plastic. Okay, so let's go to the machine and we'll sew this, and I'll show you the cool trick for the corners. Okay, for the sides, start up at the top and give it a good generous 1/2 inch seam allowance and back space, back stitch I should say, not space, back stitch. Quite a bit up at the top to reinforce it, and just sew down, across, and back up the other side. Okay, that makes it pretty slick. We have it sewn down, across, and back up. Now we want to add gussets to it. A gusset is the side section of your bag. So to do that, just take your finger in the corner and fan out the edges. So we're making a triangle in the corner. Line up your bottom seam and your top seam so they're laying on top of each other. Take scissors and snip right here on the tip so that you're not snipping the stitching. You're just snipping that corner plastic so it can lay flat. So here we have, yeah, that looks good. The top and the bottom stitching line up together, and put a clip or several clips on that. Gonna lay it down on the table here so that we could get a flat surface. And the clips are gonna be in your way, but you want them there while you get this pressed out. So press it to where you want it nice and flat. I'm gonna take out the clips. Take a quilt ruler or a clear ruler, and we want to mark 3 inches up that seam. So there is 3 inches. And I have it nice and square. I'm taking a photo pencil again and draw. This is a stitching line. So you're going to stitch along that. Now I'm going to put my clips back on. And let's do the same thing for the other sides. Okay, I'm ready to stitch. And nothing fancy, just a straight stitch all the way across. After you have your little triangles sewn, we can take off our clips. And now trim off the triangle with a solid 1/2 inch seam allowance there. Now we are ready to turn the bag inside out, so unzip it. And this is going to be a little cumbersome depending on how thick your vinyl is. So now you can get a visual of your bag. And so it stands up nice and tall. It has the pockets inside. It has the pattern pocket out here. So next we need to add grommets for your handle. And then we're going to put grommets on top of each of the pockets so that you can thread your yarn through it while your skein is still inside. I'm going to place the grommets 5 inches in from each end on both sides of the zipper. So just going to take a Sharpie, because this is going to get cut out, so you can use a permanent marker that you can see. So I'm going to mark 5 inches and just eyeballing kind of in the center of the strip, and then I'll mark 5 inches from this end. And do the same on this side. So while we're marking things, I'm going to go ahead and mark the grommet for the handle. So I'm going to mark in 1.5 inches So we're going to mark 1.5 inches on each corner. And so while we're marking things, this is the pencil case, and I'm going to want it to hang with the zipper opposite of where the hanging part is. So up in this corner here, we're going to put a grommet that can hang. So go ahead and mark for that one. And so we'll just start with this to show you how to do a grommet. Again, this is a set of grommets that I got from Harbor Freight, and the small tool in there is a cutter. So you're going to center it over your dot to cut out the center of the grommet. And you just use a hammer and cut out the fabric. And it no doubt will not go all the way through, which is fine. So then I just take like an X-Acto knife and some scissors and cut out the excess. Or now you take the disc that's included in the packet, and there's a tall piece of the grommet and one that doesn't have a crown in the middle. So you put the tall one on your little pedestal, put the fabric over it, lay the one that looks like a washer, lay it over the top. Then you take this tool, put it over the center, and give it several good pounds. And there you have a grommet. So we're going to do that on all of the ones that I marked. There are all of my grommets. So I have the 2 that I'm putting the strap on, which I have one on there so that I can show you what we're doing. But so we have 2 for the straps and 2 on each side for the yarn to come up through as it's in your inside pocket. So the next step is to do the strap. And to do this, I just am using macrame cord. So you can use any cording. Paracord would probably work, but you need 3 strands. Cut them 48 inches long and thread them through the hole for your handle. And then on the inside, so this is the inside piece. The inside, we're going to make one really big knot. And so in a normal knot, then we would typically pull it like that. Well, now we're going to wrap it in there 3 times. And then just feed your knot down there so it's nice and secure. So now as you pull your handle, the knot is secure on the inside. And so now we're just going to braid it. And in case you don't know how to braid, it's just the outside in. So the outside piece goes in, the outside piece goes into the middle, the outside goes to the middle, the outside goes to the middle. And just do that all the way down until your handle is roughly 23 inches long. And since I have the other side done already, I wanted to do that so you can see I have this one roughly 23 inches. We just want to make sure that they match up in length. And so that looks really good. Take your tails, put them from the outside going into the inside, and tie another knot on the inside. Oh my goodness, you are super, super close to being done. The last thing, find a couple pieces of ribbon. You can use cording. You can make some fabric strips. Ribbon is just real simple. And you're going to fold a 4-inch piece in half. So take your 4-inch piece, fold it in half, and sew it on opposite corners. So we have this side over here, and we're going to sew one on this side over here. So opposite corners, and up in the corner here, we're going to stitch it. So then we can hook your carabiner pin, clip to it, and that's where you're going to hook your scissors. On this side, we will do the same thing. We'll hook it up here on the edge, and we'll put a carabiner on it, and that's where you're going to hook your pencil bag. Okay, here it is, all done. The project is complete. I am not exaggerating when I say this is my only bag I use. I use this for all of my projects. So it was a big undertaking to try to put this video together. So I hope it was helpful. If you have any questions while you're making your bag, I would love to help you out. Comment down below. But as always, thank you for watching DIY on the House.